Welcome to the show, y'all. Connor Weigman, the man. So I titled the video, Can Connor Weigman Win the Heisman? And I already see in the comments, some of y'all are saying, maybe that's not the most important thing in the world. But I actually think it's kind of important. I don't think he needs to win the Heisman. So usually in the offseason, as you guys do, we're looking at updates. We're looking at the latest rumors, the latest news in the world of Aggie football. But we spend a lot of time visualizing too, right? Thinking about depth charts, thinking about how this team is going to look. And when I think about this offense, and I think about what the national perception of this team as a whole might be, I can't think of a guy that most people in the country would know about on Texas A&M besides Connor Weigman. And I don't know if that's necessarily important. I don't think it is. It could be important in a Heisman race. But I think that's also emblematic of how important he is to the offense. When I think of this offense next season, I think of it as a quarterback-centric system because we're excited. We're very excited about these running backs. We're very excited about the receivers. We're hoping for improvement on the O-line, which I'll talk about in a minute. But when I think about this offense, if it does hit its ceiling, if Texas A&M is successful this season, I think you have to have a really good Connor Weigman, right? You can't, there's not any known superstar on this offense besides who we think is a superstar in Connor Weigman. Think about it. If he would have continued to play last season, would A&M have won more games? I think it's possible. When he went down, he had the highest quarterback rating in the SEC, or at least second highest. He was top 2 at least. So when I visualize the perfect scenario for Texas A&M next year, Connor Weigman's an absolute star. He has to be, right? We're really excited about the team, but he is the difference maker on this offense. And of course, quarterback is the most important player on your team. Some will argue it's other positions. I think we all realize it's the quarterback, right? It has to be. He's the needle mover. He's the one that can take us to the next level. If you get okay quarterback play next year without the known commodities, without the major weapons, at least going into the year, I don't think you hit what's the over-under going to be? 7 wins? I don't think you hit that. Maybe you push if you're getting okay quarterback play, but for A&M to get to that 9-10 win range that a lot of us are hopeful for, or maybe more, you got to get the best Connor Weigman possible. And if you get the best Connor Weigman possible and you do approach 10 wins, how is that not at least in the discussion? So the reason I'm talking about this, DraftKings recently put out way too early Heisman odds. We're going to do a lot of way too early stuff in the show today. Good to see you guys, by the way. Glad you're in here. But here are the early Heisman odds. Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck lead the pack, and I think that's because Texas and Georgia are being looked at as early contenders going into 2024. I understand it. I get it. They're programs that are cruising right now. If y'all watched my last video, I talked about Texas, how I thought they might drop off quite a bit because they're losing Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Jatavion Sanders, but obviously they made a splash in the portal. They're plugging and playing. We have to see how it works out. On paper, the guys they're getting weren't as good as the guys that are leaving, but Sark's a really good coach. So they put Texas there. I get it. I understand. I understand you putting Texas at the top. So, of course, the quarterbacks of those two teams are going to be at the top of this list. Then you go down at Dylan Gabriel. Makes sense. Will Howard was a little surprising to me. I don't know if I look at Will Howard as a Heisman contender. But I guess on Ohio State with all their weapons, you gotta give it a chance. Jalen Milroe, sure. I talked about how I don't see that in the last live show. Then Nico Lamelava, I'm still going to struggle with that name. I believe that's Tennessee's guy. He played in the bowl game. Pretty good dude. They have a good system. Josh Heupel has that thing working, maybe. Nussmeier out of LSU. Jackson Arnold, Jackson Dart. Noah Fatifa, however you say it, Fafita out of Arizona. And then Connor Weigman. And I would argue that on this list, the best bang for your buck, I think your 3 best bangs for your buck on this list are Connor Weigman, Riley Leonard, and Jackson Dart. Of course I'm biased. Of course I'm going to throw Connor Weigman out there. I just think for a team like Texas A&M, who's going to go in with really low expectations, play in the SEC, have a new coach, start the year unranked most likely, as we've talked about in previous shows. If this team is good, Connor Weigman is going to be solely, well, not solely, but majorly to blame for that. So I think at plus 2,000, Connor Weigman, it's a good value bet right there. Do you guys agree? I don't know. When I saw these numbers, I mean, I like it. It's funny you see Weigman on this list, but then you go look online, you look at Twitter, a lot of early top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC are leaving Connor Weigman off of it. And I think he's like the 10th guy on this draft FanDuel betting list, and that's as hardcore of a ranking as you'll get. So I don't know, guys. I just see A&M, if they're having success, Connor Weigman is at least in fringe Heisman talks. He's at least being mentioned. And on the small sample size that we got from Connor Weigman, I think he has the tools. He's going to have at least good receivers. We know the starting three are going to be good. We're excited about some of these transfers to round out the rotation. I just think if A&M is good, Connor Weigman's in the discussion at least. So of course, when I tweeted that out, and of course, which fan base do you think came storming into the comments to dispute that notion? It's the school in Austin. Of course, they jumped in. You got to be kidding. This is whack. You're stupid. You're crazy. Maybe. Probably. But I see a path. I see a path. What do you guys think? Let's get in the comments. Let's see what you guys are saying. I think it makes sense. I think if A&M's good, Connor Weigman has to be the guy. Connor Weigman has to be that good. I think we're going to get improvement from other positions, but I think Weigman has to be that dude if A&M is good, and that's the path to the Heisman, or at least the discussion. Gary Mertens in the house today. Matt Myers, Asian Persuasion. Gary says, we can be reasonably confident the Ags will be improved. Truth is, many rosters are significantly different and likely not finished transforming. Exactly, it's early. In my opinion, Connor Weigman's chances are good if the O-line issues are satisfied. Yes, you need to satisfy the O-line issues for this offense or this team to be good. Like I've been saying, O-line and corner are still my two areas of concern on this team going forward. As we saw last year, the cornerback issues can actually really, really hurt your season by themselves, if not just straight up lose you games. I think it's the 9th time I've said it. Cornerback lost A&M 2 games last year. We won't revisit that again. But A&M needs improvement on the O-line for sure, and you have all the guys coming back. A&M actually added a surprise 2024 since the last time we talked. They flipped a dude from Duke, Robert Borden, or Burdon, I don't know how you say it, probably Borden. Surprise addition. Very excited to see it. A stereotypical offensive tackle. Those are hard to come by. I know he's a 3-star. I'm going to get excited every time A&M adds a tackle to the mix. Those are rare, and this guy has the tools. He's 6'6", 290. By reports, he's quick, he's vicious, just needs to work on technique, but I'm glad to get a guy like that in the room. And let's take a look at the O-line class that A&M has signed so far, or he hasn't signed yet, but the O-line class that we're expecting so far, it's looking pretty good. For an area of concern, to go out there and immediately get 4 guys, Ashton Funk, Blake Ivy, Robert Borden, 3 tackles, which is an area of need on the team. A lot of teams have that need. It's just hard to come by that position. Then Afua, of course, in the interior. Bodes pretty well going forward. You need to throw bodies in there. You need to have guys fight and surface to the top. You're going to have to find an O-line, especially if Connor Weigman's going to be in Heisman conversations, which is what this video is about. But I'm really excited about these guys. I'm really excited that Elko went and grabbed another 24. I wasn't expecting it when he dropped the money emoji, the money gif on Twitter. I was expecting another transfer or a 2025, another 2024. He's not done yet. But yes, Gary, I totally agree with you. Asian Persuasion in here. What's up, Sawyer? Good to see you, Sawyer. John Peroni in the house. Anti-Ag with my favorite comment of the pre-show. Weigman winning the Heisman is not important. A&M needs to get to the playoffs. Nothing else matters, which is the title of the song in the intro, of course. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I just happen to think if A&M somehow makes it to the playoff, wins 10 games, Connor Weigman's in that discussion. Just based on what I'm seeing with the offense, based on what we know is coming back. I don't think you have any like preseason All-Americans on this offense besides maybe Connor Weigman. And I think he's the centerpiece. He's the quarterback. He's the known commodity, if you will. So I actually agree with what you're saying here. Well, I also think Weigman has a chance to get in that conversation. John Peroni says he has to stay healthy. That's goes hand in hand with the O-line discussion. Got to keep the quarterback healthy. We can't go down to the fourth quarterback again, although I feel much better about the backups now. Weigman will have plenty of weapons, solid weapons, weapons to play ball with, absolutely. Lash says, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Look, I'm not predicting it. I'm not calling it. I'm just saying if A&M's good, Connor Weigman, maybe. I'm focused on the O-line, absolutely. Weigman will be a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. Maybe, possibly. We hope so. We hope so. Most quarterbacks in college can carve you up if they're given time to throw. Johnson completed chunk times when he had the time. Yeah, you need to give him time. 100%. And the great thing about Weigman that we've talked about all season, leading up to the season and hyping up last year, was that Weigman doesn't need as much time to throw as other quarterbacks on the roster because of his quick release and his ability to quickly read defenses. He's a baller. We know it. We've seen it. Yeah. But he does need time. He needs more time than he's ever gotten. He needs more time than we've seen quarterbacks get over the last 2 seasons. 100%. You think Dylan Gabriel's overrated and Will Howard? Yeah, but I don't know. The way they made Bo Nix a star at Oregon, the way Dylan was pretty good at Oklahoma, maybe overrated. I think he has a chance at Oregon. I think Oregon's one of my playoff favorites going into the year for sure. Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State. Those are my 3 locks right now. Everyone knows the long snapper is the most important on the team. Good to see you, Lash. Always look forward to your 1 or 2 out-of-pocket comments every show. Weigman definitely a dark horse under the Klein offense. Absolutely. A new offense, too. Maybe more explosive plays. We'll see. Plenty of tackles now. Absolutely. A&M beating TU is almost as important as making the playoffs. I know it. November 30th. Yes, sir. Program stats or the particular offense being run can impact year-end stats, but I like the fact that Klein competed for the Heisman. Yeah, absolutely. A guy that's been there is now leading the system. Now able to do work with Connor Weigman. Absolutely. Good to see you guys in here. I had to move the show to today, Thursday, because I had an obligation Wednesday. I had tickets to the Spurs game, and I absolutely couldn't get out of it. Just couldn't get out of it. I had to go watch Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren. I'm so sorry, guys. So maybe lower attendance tonight because it's not when most people expect the show, but that's okay. Hopefully most people will catch it on the rerun. So if you're watching it live, you're watching the rerun, if you could like the video, that would help greatly. I'm sure most of you guys that are here are subscribed. If not, please subscribe. It helps greatly. But a couple of things I wanted to talk about tonight, and since I expected lower attendance tonight, I was not going to put the pressure on to have you guys call tonight. I actually have someone who's going to call in. It's my brother Matt from Texas Platinum. He runs a Texas podcast on YouTube. Someone put out way too early over-under odds for the SEC. And I wanted to go through those way too early. I think someone in the chat alluded to it early already, that these rosters aren't done being built yet. We don't really know what we're looking at yet until after spring. We get into summer, then we can make some more solid predictions. But I wanted to look at it way too early and kind of just predict way early out. And we're not going to know much about some of these teams. Like, I'm not going to know a lot about Kentucky. I'm going to know some about Mississippi State, but not that much. We're going to just do some really early predictions on some SEC team over under win totals. We'll do that in just a second. I wanted to get to a couple of other things before we get to that. I wanted to briefly talk about Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers, leaving Michigan, which is crazy. I mean, it makes sense. I think he's always had aspirations of going to the next level. He's going to coach the Chargers, and Michigan's now in a coaching search. Most people, most insiders will say that their offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore, will take over, and it's only a matter of time before he is the next coach at Michigan. But in Aggie land, we were kind of waiting to see if maybe there was a Brian Kelly move to be made. Brian Kelly leaving LSU. A lot of those LSU guys were recruited by A&M. Maybe a ripple effect there, but I don't think it's going to happen, guys. I think Sharon Moore is going to be the guy at Michigan. I think we can park the Brian Kelly hype. Would have been interesting. I know a lot of people are talking about Harold Perkins maybe looking our way if that happened, especially after the coaching exodus they had on the defensive side of the ball at LSU. But I just don't see Brian Kelly. Well, first of all, I think Michigan has their decision made, but I don't see Brian Kelly leaving LSU to go into a scandalous scenario. I have no idea what's going to happen with Michigan over the next 5 years. Who knows what kind of sanctions are going to be put on them. I don't see Brian Kelly leaving to that, even though, I mean, Baton Rouge? I don't know. Brian Kelly's staying. I'm pretty sure, guys. So let's park that one. I don't think that's happening. I think it's Sharon Moore. And then I wanted to, of course, do the new segment on the show, Cryptic Tweet of the Night. And this one's a rough one, guys. If you haven't seen this cryptic tweet, maybe some of you have, maybe some of you haven't. This was actually an Instagram story. It was by Le'Veon Moss. Let me see if I can get it on the screen for you guys. And it was him posting just a random picture, kind of saying some bad things about the Aggies. I'm out of this, B. F an Aggie. I don't know what that means. I don't like it. We haven't seen him enter the portal. I don't know if he was hacked. I don't know what happened here. But this was weird. It got deleted. I know Le'Veon Moss, he didn't show up to the bowl game. I think he was going through some personal stuff. I think we heard some coaches say, we're thinking about Le'Veon. He's in our hearts. He's in our thoughts and prayers. I don't know what's going on with Le'Veon, guys. But I wanted to make you aware of this so you're not surprised if anything happens. Our unfortunate cryptic tweet of the night. I think a lot of the cryptic tweets are going to be rather unfortunate. Sometimes they're good. Last week we got a little glimpse of hopefully Tyreek Chappelle returning next year. His dad posting a picture of him in his jersey. We still haven't gotten confirmation on Tyreek Chappelle. But, yeah, unfortunately, this was a tweet. But all right, guys, I wanted to get into these over-under win totals. These are by SEC Mike. I don't know, many of you guys watch that SEC podcast, but SEC Mike, he's been covering the SEC for a few years now. He talks exclusively SEC football, and he predicted the over-under win totals for every SEC team in 2024. And I wanted to spend a little time looking at these. I got my buddy, my brother, Matt. Let's see if we can get Matt in here tonight. And if we have time at the end of the show, I'll open the phone lines if anybody wants to call in. Put in the chat if you want to call in. Before we get to Matt, let's check out the chat real quick before we start looking at these over-under win totals. Asian Persuasion says, I remember the Spurs making the playoffs every year. It'll be a while, man. It'll be a while till we're there again. Ted made it. Good to see you, Ted. The flu virus is killing me, man. I know. You have the flu. That's terrible, man. Last time I had the flu, I lost 15 pounds, and it didn't look good. My eye sockets were sunken in. I got chubby cheeks to begin with. And those were kind of depleted, which is a really weird look for me. Jeb says, spring game, April 20th. That got announced yesterday. Yes, absolutely. I want to get together for that. I need to check my schedule. I haven't done that yet. But if so, I'll put it out next show if we're going to get together or not, so you guys can put it on your schedule. I'd like to sit together, chop it up, watch the game together. Be a good time. Free admission, usually. I'm sure it still is. Lash says, good riddance, Harbaugh. Of course, of course. A&M needs to snatch a few Michigan players. Yep. We're going to start seeing those guys hit the portal, I would assume, very soon. Of course, they lose a lot of their mainstays going into next year. I can't wait for the documentary. The Michigan documentary, The Last Dance Part 2. I mean, they can highlight the quarterback doing some yoga or doing some meditation in his bathtub or whatever he does before games. They like talking about that anyway. They can bring that up in the documentary. Heard about the rant tweet about Moss. Yeah. I hope we don't lose Moss. Moss is a big part of the future, in my opinion. Yep. All right. Oh, one last thing for you guys before we get into these over-under win totals. Keyshawn Booty, y'all remember him from LSU? Apparently he's in trouble with the law right now. I don't know all the details, but apparently he was doing some illegal gambling while he was a college student, which is a terrifying concept of players with this huge conflict of interest betting on their own teams. That's something that I'm kind of scared of with this growing betting world in college football. Let me see if I can find the tweet by On3. But apparently, Booty, he had over 8,000 bets in his time as a college athlete. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. And then since then, a bunch of highlights of him mysteriously dropping balls and the time he dropped the ball before scoring. Keyshawn Booty has been charged for illegal online gaming. He placed over 8,900 bets, including some on LSU while he was still in school. Really weird situation. And then I don't know if you remember this, where he dropped the football before he scored because he had the under on the game. I don't know about this. Apparently, they say he never bet against LSU. So this was actually a mistake. But now everyone's going to overanalyze all of his drops and everything kind of a crazy situation. Kind of something that's always been a little scary. You never know, man. You never know. But anyway, let's get into these over-under win totals. Let's get Spurhorn. Let's get Matt in here. All right, Matt, are you with me tonight?
What's up, Drew Tamu? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got you. We got you. All right, let's look at these over-under win totals, man. Oh, by the way, tell everybody your podcast, where you're from, how they can follow y'all, and then we'll get into this thing.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube as well. It's called Texas Platinum. We've had it since we were in school there, probably like 5, 6 years. Don't use it as much recently. We've been busy, but you should definitely check it out, especially when we play A&M next year. We'll
Yeah.
definitely have some content for y'all, but it's good. If you want to watch a winning football team, go to Texas Platinum.
Well, I promise you this channel is going to be a winning channel next year. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I haven't covered the most successful teams in my 2 years doing this. But don't worry. I'm sure some of these people that are here right now watching this will go in there and talk some trash whenever you make that pregame video. But anyways, all right, Matt. So if you're looking at these over-under win totals right here, we got Bama at 9, and I don't know, man. Are they going to get 9? Let's pull up the schedules here to go alongside this thing. But talk to me about Bama's chances of actually rebounding, having a good year under year one, under DeBoer. I mean, it just seems like there's going to be a lot of change and lack of continuity, and that's always tough. Plus, they're in the SEC. Tell me about their chances of winning 9 games.
Yeah, I think of all the storylines in 2024 college football, there's a million, like new playoffs, new conferences. I think Bama post Saban, it's got to be like one of the most compelling ones. They have a weird game in week 3 at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not great, but I've never seen like Bama go play up there in a place like Madison. It'll be hard to win there just because of the circumstances. They play Georgia too,
I know they got the
at
Georgia draw.
Neyland, at LSU, at Oklahoma late in the year, and then of course the Iron Bowl. Missouri, I forget Missouri's actually a good team now. They get
Yeah.
them at home, but a lot of tricky games on this schedule, and I think 9 is this one's like if I was betting it, I would stay away, but I'm leaning to the over just because I think that Bama lineage will stay there at least a couple more years post Saban,
Yeah.
that bloodline of excellence. And DeBoer's a good coach too, but can he build a program, a dynasty like Saban long term? That's the question.
That is the big question. Because look, they're going to have a bunch of transfers. They've had a bunch of transfers. They're going to get players in. No matter how many players transfer out of Bama right now, they're going to reload with more blue chip talent because they're stacked down to the 4th stringers right now, just based on how they've recruited recently. So they're going to lose the big names. They're going to lose the starters. They're going to lose some guys overall. But whoever goes in there is gonna be a good player, most likely. But the thing is, how much change can you overcome in 1 year? I mean, you're going to have a whole new system, not a new quarterback, but new players all around. I think we're going to know a lot about Bama by the Georgia game, obviously, because they're going to have that early road test, the weird one like you mentioned, then the off week, then Georgia. By then, we'll know what Bama is, I would say. I would say if they look good versus Wisconsin, and they don't have to beat Georgia, in my opinion. I think they want to beat Georgia, obviously. They don't have to beat Georgia to have a successful year under year 1 of DeBoer. I think if this was at 9.5, it would be a more compelling number. I think 9 is like the safe number. I think 9 is likely. I think 9 is the likely win total on the year. So I guess I would take over and then probably expect a push. But if it was 9.5, I'd go under. So that's tough, man. Of course, the first year we don't have to play them. Neither do y'all, which is nice. And of course, the first year that Michigan loses Harbaugh and falls apart, you get to play them. How fun for Texas.
That's right. Chris Del Conte's working overtime planning all this out.
Yeah, he is. All right, so Arkansas at 5. Now, this was one that I did peek at earlier. Oof. Let's see if we can get the Arkansas one up here. Yeah, of course they're going to have to play an SEC schedule. Of course they have Petrino at the helm now. I don't know, man. It seems tough. How are we going to do this here? This is going to take some time. But
it's at 5. They play at Stillwater week 2, which that's a hard place to win at, especially Gundy. He's got a chip on his shoulder against SEC teams, as y'all saw in the bowl game. So that's going to be a tough one. No more KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, so it's at 5 by SEC Mike, and I think 5 is a clear under, in my opinion. And I'm not an Arkansas hater as much as we, talk trash, play them every year, interact with them every year at Jerry World. I mean, I see 3 wins easily here, maybe. I mean, La Tech, UAPB, and UAB. Besides that, dude, I mean, they play Mississippi State on the road. They couldn't even get that one at home, which would be like one of the easier games on the schedule. They do actually play more home games. They've been used to getting brutal schedules every year where they have like BYU and then just a bunch of rough away games.
Yeah. Cincinnati.
They have a nice little home stretch here. Ole Miss, y'all, then La Tech. They get LSU and Tennessee at home, but those aren't games that I'm picking them in, even though they're at home. I don't know, man. I'm going under 5. I'm sure you are too. Are you going under 5?
Yeah, I'm going under 5, but I do think they could potentially win one of those Tennessee LSU games at home. The Tennessee game I'm looking at as a swing game. If they were able to win that somehow, they might be able to go over, but I wouldn't bet on it. I would definitely lean the under for sure.
Yeah, I'm going under here, man. It sucks for Pittman. I think everybody wants to like Sam Pittman. Just a good, cuddly guy, but I don't think I don't know, man. I think he's getting pretty sour up in Fayetteville, but let's move on to Auburn. We'll go quickly through some of these teams. Auburn, I mean, I think it's a matter of time before Auburn's a contender. I've been saying that. I think Hugh Freeze is going to build it. I think he has the resources there, the buy-in. I think he's a good coach. I think he's recruiting really well. But I don't think it happens overnight, and I think SEC Mike has it projected at 7. This is the first time I'm looking at their schedule, I think. So, of course, I don't know why this is like an Auburn tradition starting the year with 5 winnable home games. It's been like that. I think last year they actually went on the road to Cal, but still it's Cal, and they actually won it. But they start the year off pretty nice. I mean, they're going to probably win their first 4 games of the year. And then they get Oklahoma, then at Georgia, and things start coming fast. But, I mean, Peyton Thorne's going to be the quarterback again, man. Peyton Thorne. That's the guy they're committed to. They're not going to start the young guy. I don't think they have any transfers that are going to go start year 1. I don't know, man. I'm going, let's see. This is 4 wins. They got OU at home. I mean, maybe they could beat OU at home. I don't know. What are you seeing here?
Yeah.
I think they can definitely beat Kentucky and Vandy. They might have a path to 8 here.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely start 4-0, maybe 5-0. But is Peyton Thorne really going to be their quarterback? That sucks because that guy was really bad.
Yeah, and then when they got the best out of him, he was running, and he's been injury prone, and I don't know, man. Let's see what the chat's saying real quick. All right.
I think they'll go over, honestly. I believe in Hugh Freeze, but it's going to get dicey at the end because they end with A&M. It's at home, though, so they have a good chance to win that. But at Bryant-Denny's will be tough as well. So I think 8 or 7.
Yeah, push her over. All right, that's not too bad. I mean, I think by the year after, they're going to have some success. I forget the guy's name, but they have a really good quarterback coming in. By the time Peyton Thorne's gone, I think that's when we're going to start seeing Auburn take it to the next level. Jeb says, I see Bama at 9-3, depending on how many players they use. Yeah, I think 9-3 is most likely for Bama for me right now. I mean, DeBoer's a great offensive mind. We'll see what he puts together, but they lost some stuff. It's a lot of ranked games, says Ted. Yeah, it's going to be tough for Bama, but I don't know. So Jeb says he could see Arkansas going 5-7, 6-6. Maybe. Who's starting at quarterback at Arkansas this year? Do you know that, Matt?
I actually don't. I don't know that.
All right.
Is it Malik Hornsby? Is he still there?
No. He went to Texas State. We'll find out. But as of right now, I mean, I know they lose their experienced guy in KJ. So Jeb still has them at 5-6 wins. He likes Arkansas. They got some decent. Yeah, they did good in the portal. Jeb's wondering how Freeze got another coaching job. That's a good question. I think we have short memories in college football. We have really short memories. How is Ross Bjork getting all these jobs? How is he failing forward, as Noble was saying last week? How's Ross Bjork going from Ole Miss, scandal, to A&M, Jimbo and Mark Stoops, to Ohio State? How is that happening? You know? All right.
Yeah, y'all lucked out with that one.
Yeah, I think we did. Oh, and by the way, guys, if y'all didn't hear, R.C. Slocum's the interim AD yet again while the committee searches for the next AD. He did the same thing when we lost Woodward in 19. Auburn's going to have better. Yeah, they're going to be much better at receiver. Coleman's going to play right away. They got some other guys. Yeah, they're going to have a good wide receiver core. Ted's going under with a push for Auburn. Okay. I think 7's a good number. I think SEC Mike hit it on the head. I would not be surprised if it's 7 wins for Auburn. Croswell, the transfer, is going to be the quarterback at Arkansas. We'll have to see. If they win 5 or if they win 6 games this year at Arkansas, I would look at that as a massive success, Jeb. All right. Florida. Oh, man. Florida's
The meme schedule.
This is not a real schedule. I mean, it is, but it's not going to be real for Napier because it's not going to be his team after this year. All right, let's look at Florida's schedule, guys. 6 wins, says SEC Mike. He has Florida at 6 wins. Here's Florida. All right. They open with Miami, which is not going to be an easy game. It's at home, but Miami's a mystery team going into next year. Obviously got Cam Ward. They obviously recruit really well. Who knows what Miami will be? Then they get Samford, and then they get A&M at home. And, of course, we've talked about it on this show before. I think Florida's going to be bad, but going to the Swamp for an unproven A&M team, it's not going to be the easiest win for A&M. It's not. If we win that game, I'm not going to scoff at it. I'm going to look at it as a solid win, going to the Swamp and winning in week 3. So I don't know how that game goes. I could see A&M losing that game as an early test. We'll know a lot more after Notre Dame. We'll know a lot more after spring and fall. It's so early. We're doing this way too early, but that's the fun of this. But then at Mississippi State, I guess that's winnable. UCF, it's winnable, but it's not an easy game. At Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, at Texas, then this is just where it's just crazy. Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. 6 wins here. Let's be generous. Samford, Mississippi State, UCF. I'm halfway to 6.
Yeah. 6 is way, way too high. Their out of conference is Miami, Florida State, and UCF. And then in conference, they get Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. And, the back half, everybody laughs at the back half. But, the front half of the schedule isn't easy either. You said A&M. That's a must-win for Billy Napier. He has to beat A&M if he wants to not be fired because that's a semi-winnable game. And, if he's 3-3 going into that backstretch, it's over. It's so over for him. So he's got to win that game, which makes it tough on y'all because y'all aren't proven yet.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting game week 3. Swing game for sure, but definitely under.
It makes to me, like I said about the Miami game last year, it kind of sets the tone on your year, sets your momentum. The Notre Dame game is like that for A&M. You win that game, you feel good, you have confidence, you have maximum buy-in, people are believing in the new system. It's just intangible stuff, but I think it's important. Momentum's real. So if you beat Notre Dame, I'd feel much better going to the Swamp. You lose Notre Dame, you're unsure of yourself going forward. You're going to beat, is it Bowling Green next? Whoever it is in week 2. I think you need to build some momentum going to the Swamp. But yeah, that's going to be a must win for them. Chat, what do you guys think that Florida's record is for their last 5 games? Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. I'm just going to be straight up. That's a 0-win situation for Florida. Maybe they can beat LSU at home. What do you say, Matt? No?
No shot. I think it's more likely they go 3-9 than 6-6.
Yes. This number should be set at 3.5, to be honest. I would not.
They're not going to beat both UCF and Miami. They're going to lose one of those games, I'm pretty sure.
No. Yeah. Yeah, and are they going to beat Mississippi State and A&M? Probably not, even though Mississippi State's not good. I don't think they're winning both of those games. Yeah, it's 4 wins, maybe 5 if they get a big upset. And Kentucky, no pushover. I don't know much about Kentucky at this point, but I don't know, man. That's brutal. Let's see what the chat's saying here. Gary says RC is pure class and a great interim. Yeah, I'm so happy with RC being the guy right now. He has stayed locked in with A&M since his time. He has not wavered. He's been around. He's even been seen talking to recruits recently. Nick Scorton's dad tweeted a picture with him and RC, which was cool. Even though he's from the area, it's still really cool to see. And he interacts with the fan base. If you're on Twitter, RC's probably followed you or interacted with you. It's crazy. Sawyer says Arkansas got the quarterback from Boise State. Okay. Jeb takes it back. He's going 4-8 for Arkansas. I think 4-8. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Lash says it is written. The only thing that will absolutely keep a coach from securing another head coach position is habitual losing. Anything else can be overlooked. That's so true, Lash. It is absolutely true. Florida will be pretty bad, plus the schedule. Yep. Will Billy make it to the end of the year? I don't see why you fire Billy mid-season. You don't, like, you put the guy in to play Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State with that roster. I don't think you can fire him. I think you make him play this year. Like I've been saying, I think Florida's season is a formality for Billy. That's so mean to say. I don't mean to hate on Florida, to rag on Florida. It's just the situation at hand. It's just a really, really bad hand they're dealt right now. Sawyer says 0 wins. Okay, they're losing to Samford. Imagine if they lost to Samford. Do we think FSU will be good next year or LSU? I think FSU will be better than Florida for sure. I think FSU will contend for the ACC with Clemson, maybe Miami, maybe Louisville. Matt, you think Florida State's pretty good next year? I think they filled a lot of gaps in the portal. Who knows what Uyunglele will be?
Yeah, they'll be good, and it's in Doak Campbell Stadium, I believe. So
It is.
Tallahassee, yeah,
It is.
that's even if the rivalry game on the road, like that's a coin flip at best for Florida.
Yeah. I think FSU's pretty good. I don't know if they're playoff good, but if you win the ACC, you're in, so who knows? Gary says if Elko's Ags can pull down an opening win versus Notre Dame, the momentum skyrockets. Absolutely. If you lose that, I'm worried about an early snowball. It's such a big game. I mean, anything can happen. That's just like a prediction. Of course, you can lose that and beat Florida, and you could win out potentially, but I think that just really helps. It's a boon if you do it. Miami is far too poorly coached to win the ACC anytime soon. That's a fair statement. Yeah. It's a really weird situation with Cristobal because his talent acquisition is great, but the in-game stuff is really questionable. I forget their OC's name. They were really high on him early in the year, and then all of a sudden that went away. Good to see you in here, Rangers King, by the way. Good to see you, Max. If Florida loses to Samford, he may be fired between the field and the locker room after the game. Yeah, that would be the reason why. All right, let's move on, Matt. Georgia at 11. It's been 11 for like 3 years straight for Georgia, hasn't it? It's like...
Yeah.
All right. They actually have a pretty tough out-of-conference, though, with Clemson and Georgia Tech. I mean, they're going to beat Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech's a little bit better now. The Fighting Haynes Kings. I don't know. I think they should be favored in every game on the schedule, right? It's just, are they going to slip up at all, and who would it be to? So Clemson's possible. On the road at Kentucky, who knows? At Bama, I mean, this is the time to play at Bama, but it's Georgia. So, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be an intriguing game. We'll know about Bama by then. What do you think about that Bama-Georgia matchup really early, Matt?
I don't feel very strongly either way. I think Georgia will be favored, of course, but I could see Bama winning that game. Georgia was weird last season. People are getting too much into that Florida State win against like their third teams after they were dejected from being their third stringers were dejected from missing out in the playoff. No one of their starters played.
Yeah.
But when Bama played Georgia last year, I mean, Bama kind of pushed them around, and Bama wasn't great last year. We all know that. So I think Bama and Georgia are kind of a question mark. I think 11 on this I'm pretty comfortable with the under.
Really?
Because I think worst case you push. I mean, at Ole Miss late in the year, at Texas, that's tough. At Bama, so you're basically just betting on them not to sweep all these trip mines because just one loss and you at least push. So
yeah,
I don't believe in Carson Beck like that, but Kirby Smart is, I guess, the new Saban right now. Like he's the guy that you bet on the most in college football. But that's a tough schedule. Clemson too, week 1. That could be tricky. You never know. So
yeah,
it's a tough schedule.
It's a very tough schedule. The road games are really tough, and I hate you. I mean, I hate the Longhorns, but I know DKR is known as a wine and cheese crowd, but I have a feeling year 1 in the SEC is going to be the best y'all's home stadium has ever been. I think this is going to be like definitely y'all's best home field advantage, maybe in recent history, just based on the hype y'all are going to have going into the new conference. So any SEC team that has to play at Texas next year, I would assume is in for a pretty raucous home environment. That's not going to be easy for Georgia. Bama, of course, is going to get up for that game. The fans aren't going anywhere. They're going to be upset. They're going to be angry. They're losing players. They're going to be restless. They're not going to like what they're getting post-Saban, but they're still going to be passionate, crazy Bama fans, and it's going to be crazy, raucous environment versus Georgia. And then the Ole Miss game, I think Ole Miss is like a really, really good team next year. So, yeah, I mean, now that I think you've convinced me to hit the under on 11, and I would actually not be surprised if that thing comes out closer to 10, 10.5 by the time Vegas puts out their lines.
Yeah, I think it'll drop. 10.5 is kind of where I think it should be at, because that makes you actually decide, are they going to lose 2 games or lose one? I
Right.
think it's pretty safe to say they're not going to go undefeated next year, but could be wrong.
Right, right, right. All right, let's check on the chat real quick. Truffle Shuffle's here. What's up, Truffle Shuffle? Good to see you. We're doing some way too early SEC over-unders. Ted says Bama and Georgia are both interesting teams. Intriguing. We'll have to see what happens. I don't know if I see Carson Beck as a Heisman favorite, but I mean, I get it. You're on Georgia. You're the quarterback. You have a year under your belt. You were pretty good this year. Who knows? My recollection of Stanford from last year is that they're very competitive. UF better be ready. Ooh, Gary, that would be. If Stanford's competitive, that's really weird. That's sketchy. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. We'll skip through some of these quickly. Like the Kentucky one, we'll go through quickly because I don't know much about Kentucky. I'll be straight up. Let's see if we can find an easy Kentucky link. Here we go. We'll just look at the opponents. I don't know much about their team, what they bring back. I know they lose Levis. So, all right. So out of conference, Southern Miss, Ohio, and Murray State. Easy out of conference. That's 3 wins. Georgia's a loss. Ole Miss is a loss. Vandy's a win. Florida's probably a win. Auburn at home, that's going to be a really good game, intriguing game. That's one that I'll have on the side screen for sure. At Tennessee, probably a loss. Just guessing, just predicting. Are y'all going to beat Kentucky at home?
Kentucky can't beat Tennessee. It's like they haven't beat Tennessee in like 100 years, I think, or something crazy like that. Yeah, we'll beat Kentucky, I think, but I'm nervous. Mark Stoops is that type of coach that gets that random upset every now and then. If we're coming in all overlooking them, they could definitely beat us.
Sure, sure. And then Louisville, who's going to be pretty good this year, especially with their transfer portal class. They're building something up there. 7. So let's count the wins. Let's count the wins real quick. 1. Let's call South Carolina win. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm saying push or under. I think push or under. That Auburn game is going to be the swing game on the year. Florida too. At Florida, Florida's going to need that win before they get into their home stretch. Let's go 7 or under. What do you say?
You know what? I think it's a Mark Stoops year. They've been kind of hovering around 7 wins for a while. I think they're due for that random 10-win season. They'll probably start off with 2 losses early on, Ole Miss and Georgia, but I think they might run the table. And now that I'm saying that, I'm realizing that would just entail them beating Texas. So maybe not. Maybe a 9-win season for Kentucky,
Isn't that
which
like a
over.
Kentucky thing? When they have the low expectations, they're pretty good. When they have the expectations, they kind of suffer. Isn't that been like a theme? I don't know. It would it,
Yeah, I
would- it
think
would
yeah,
it would be just A&M's luck for A&M to get rid of Mark Stoops just for him to put a master class together. He moves on back to Kentucky and he's just good. That would be typical
yeah.
A&M. All right, let's go. Matt goes over. I'm going under at 7. LSU at 9. This is one that I have been thinking about quite a bit, and it's hard for me to put a pen on LSU. So USC is interesting. They played USC and UCLA in the same year. Go figure. Then they play South Alabama, Nichols. Then their away slate at South Carolina, at Arkansas, at A&M, at Florida. They get at home Bama, OU, Vandy, which is always nice, and Ole Miss. So for LSU, I see them falling off pretty sharply. So Daniels was their team. Daniels was the offense. He was their running attack. He was the best statistical passer in the country. They lose Denbrock, I think that's the coordinator, right? Denbrock. They lose him to back to Notre Dame. Their defense was atrocious last year. They have a whole new defensive staff that's better than it should be better than it was last year. The defense should be improved, but I don't know how much they can improve. Where I know the offense is going to drop off. They play USC at Vegas. That's going to be a really weird game. They get UCLA at home. They should win that, but the SEC slate, I think 9 wins would be a pretty decent year for LSU next year. What do you think?
I don't know. It's kind of they're at a crossroads. I feel like, because when they hired
For
Brian
sure.
Kelly, I was like, this is gonna work. Like, he's gonna win there. He's a good coach, but something feels off about the Brian Kelly era at LSU, and it seemed like, yeah, Jaden Daniels masked a lot of their deficiencies last year because he was just like Superman.
Yeah.
But I do like the way their schedule lines up. USC, they'll beat USC. They get Bama at home. They get Ole Miss at home. They avoid Georgia. They get they do have to go to College Station. That's tough, but they get OU at home too. So I think relative to the rest of the SEC, they get a pretty easy schedule, but they also play UCLA. They play USC and UCLA, which is strange. I just think um, I think the schedule lines up good for them, but I just don't think they're that good. I think they're going to get beat quite a few times. So I would lean under 8-4.
Yeah.
I think A&M will beat them next year too. If you want to hype up the Aggies.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game. I keep saying I'm only going to 2 games next year, but Jeb last show talked me into going to the Arkansas game. It's the last game at Jerry World. Now I feel like I need to go see A&M beat LSU because I feel like this is the year to do it for sure at home. That's just how it's been the last few years anyway. The home team wins. Yeah, I'm going 9-3, 8-4. I'm going under to push. And I wouldn't be surprised if this line moves down to 8.5 by the time Vegas comes out with. Let's see what the chat says. What does chat have to say about LSU? So Asian Persuasion says Mark Stoops will be good at Kentucky. Yeah, they'll be competitive. Truffle Shuffle says Kentucky perennial 7-5, 8-5. Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's what they always do. Maybe they'll perform better without expectations. John Prony says that's the correct mantra about Kentucky. But Asian Persuasion says LSU probably goes 8-4, 9-3. Just what I'm saying. Ted's actually a game lower. He says 7-5, 8-4. LSU gets 9 because of the talent. Yeah, the schedule, that's a good point. The talent always wins. Schedule does facilitate possibly 9. I'm going to say 8 or 9 wins. I'm going to confidently right now say 8 or 9 wins. Maybe coming out of spring, they'll have some hype. They'll feel good about the defense. I don't know. But right now, 8 or 9. Matt, you're feeling the same way, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to get weird if he wins eight games next year. Brian Kelly, what does LSU start thinking? What do they start saying? Because they're pretty spoiled the last 20 years, so I don't think they'll want to wait around.
I know. It's going to be really weird. And guys, if you're just getting to the show, by the way, we have Matt from Texas Platinum on right now. He's my brother. He has another football YouTube channel. He's on the other side of things. He's a Texas fan, but we don't hold that against him. We let him come in here and talk football with us. So give Matt a like whenever you get a chance, guys. Let's move on to OU, the newcomer. 1 of 2. All right, let's see how we can get to OU. What was it at? It was at 8. So you're going under already. Who plays OU that I can link from? Oh, yeah, LSU versus OU is going to be fun to end the year. All right. Temple,
Yeah.
Houston, Tulane as your non-con. So that's a really nice non-con, all at home to start the year. I feel like the teams that get those layups to start the year, that's an advantage, right? That's an advantage to just get momentum, figure out your roster, figure out your personnel, and then you get into conference play versus Tennessee, who's a good team, but it's not a top dog, as your first home test. That's a really nice start to the year. Then you go on the road versus another maybe mid to lower tier team in Auburn. That's a nice runway for your season right there. And I see a path to 5-0 there. But then Texas, always a weird game, hard to predict. They draw South Carolina on the road at Ole Miss, tough. Oh, they play Man. I didn't even see that one. Okay, another nice one. Then at Missouri, and then of course it ends tough, Bama, then at LSU. So just looking at this, I see potential for a 4-1, 5-0 start for OU, depending on just what kind of team they put together. I don't know too much about them right now. I have to do more research going into the year. What do you think, Matt? You probably know a little bit more about them right now.
Yeah, they overachieved this year with Dylan Gabriel. Gabriel was really good, and I felt like he kind of compensated for a lot of the deficiencies. Jackson Arnold supposed to be really good, 5-star guy, but whenever I saw him get into games, he didn't look great to me. But then again, he was a true freshman. Uh, schedule schedule's kind of hard for him, honestly. I think they'll definitely split Tennessee and Auburn. They'll lose one of those before they get to Texas. I lean Texas, of course, when we play them. We need to get revenge. That rivalry usually goes back and forth. So I think we should beat them this year. So that's 2 losses off the bat. At Ole Miss is a loss. At Missouri is a loss. And Bama, LSU are probably both losses too. So yeah, I would definitely lean under. 8's a little high. But to be honest, I did kind of think they'd be worse than they were last year. This past year, they overachieved, in my opinion. And you got to
Yeah.
give Venables credit, I guess. They won 10 games, which is not anything to scoff at. So maybe Venables is actually a good coach, but
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're going to be that good this year. They lost quite a bit from that team last year.
So at 8, if I had to bet on this, if I had to bet on the 8 for OU, I think I'm going over because I see 4-1 or 5-0 to start the year. If it's 5-0, I'm feeling really good, but most likely 4-1. I think they can beat South Carolina to get to 5. They're going to beat Maine and get to 6. And then can they win one of two, or can they win two of Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Bama, LSU? It's going to be tough, but I'd go over. I'm going to go 8-4, 9-3, probably 8-4, most likely, but maybe 9-3. And that's giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt. So we'll have to see. But I'm going to go over. You're going to go under. And you went under quickly, so maybe we should trust the guy that plays them every year.
Maybe I just hate Oklahoma.
You probably do. We'll see. We'll see how biased you really are when we get to A&M. All right, Mississippi State at 5, and I don't think I've looked at their schedule. All right, let's check out Mississippi State's schedule. All right, out of conference, Eastern Kentucky, at Arizona State, Toledo, and UMass. UMass is terrible, even though we had a disgusting game versus them a couple years ago. But I think they can potentially win all their out of conference, even though at Arizona might be a little tough. At Arizona State, even though Arizona State's been terrible recently. I don't know, unusual place to play out of conference, probably a super late game. Weird. Let's see how many wins we have here. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be tough to get 5. Tell me a little bit about what you think about Mississippi State. Don't they have, what's the guy's name from Baylor? I was just looking at this. He's their quarterback next year. Remember that guy's name?
Blake Shapen?
Blake Shapen's going to be their quarterback.
He's pretty decent. If you put him in that variant sheet with Jeff Lebby they have now, that could be. I mean, obviously they're not going to win the SEC or anything, but they could at least be like a tough out for like Florida and Arkansas.
Poor Florida.
So I don't know. 5 wins. I want to say over. I want to say over because I think their schedule looks pretty light, honestly. They have an easy non-con. Like they're going to go 4-0 in non-con. I think they'll beat Arizona State. I want to say. Maybe not because it's a first-year coach, but I actually think Jeff Lebby's a good hire.
Yeah.
And I think they'll build some momentum early on in the year and then find a way to barely get to 5 wins. But wait, was it 5 or 6?
It's 5. He has it at 5. I could see it going up to 5.5. Yeah, I think 5 is on the table. I also think they can win out and they're out of conference. Then they just have to win 1 in conference. I mean, we think A&M is going to be pretty good, but they get them at home. We think we're going to be better than Mississippi State. We think we're going to be capable of beating them in Starkville. But Arkansas at home, I mean, you could probably win that. I can see a push, but I think I would lean push under. And you're going to go push over?
Yeah, for sure. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I like Jeff Lebby. I think he'll have a good offense every year, I'm pretty sure.
All right. And keep in mind, guys, it's super early. We're going to learn more as time goes on. Still needed to study these teams over the offseason. We're 7 months away, and we're already looking at the next season schedules. That's how much we're college football freaks here, guys, on a Thursday night. Let's check in on the chat real quick. I hope the A&M versus LSU game's a night game. I know, man. That game, it just feels like it always needs to be a night game. And I believe, I haven't looked at the full slate for that week. I think it's not super competitive for like the primetime slot that particular week. So I think we have a chance to maybe get that night slot. And I don't think the 2:30 CBS game is a thing for the SEC anymore this year. So, yeah, it's very possible, Jeb. Nussmeier has been there forever. Who knows what he's going to be? I can't get a straight answer from LSU fans on him, so I really don't know. Ted says LSU super young. They lost most of their wide receiver core. No DBs. Yeah, exactly. Gary agrees about the early cupcakes. They let you find opportunity to find your identity. Yep, I would take it. I mean, when your team's cruising, give me those big early non-cons, but sometimes when you're trying to find your identity, yeah, those early non-cons are nice. Early, easy non-cons are nice. Ted has 9-3 for OU. That's pretty good. OU usually wins most of the time. Jeb says OU wins most of the Red River rivalries, Matt.
That's not true factually, but
Texas beats them once every 5 years, it seems. It does seem that way, but I don't know what the facts say, but the way it seems, yeah, OU is kind of dominant.
that's not what the facts would say, but I respect it.
Yeah, okay.
You look at the numbers, it would suggest otherwise.
All right. Perception versus reality. All right. Under for OU says Truffle Shuffle. Will be interesting to see if Missouri continues to thrive or if they drop off. Really interested to see what Missouri is, especially considering we play them at home this year. But yeah, OU losing their OC could impact for sure. That's a very good point. OC and quarterback. Missouri could be overhyped. Yep, they definitely could be. They're not going to surprise anybody going forward, that's for sure. Jeb says he's not expecting anything from Mississippi State. Blake Shapen wasn't good as someone who follows Baylor. We have some conflicting reports on Blake Shapen. We'll just have to see what he looks like in a New Jersey. And then Ted has them going over at 6. All right. I think Mississippi State, OU are kind of mystery teams. Kentucky's kind of a mystery team at this point. We'll have to see. But I wouldn't be surprised. As I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised about a Mark Stoops masterclass. All right. Missouri at 9.5. Team we were just talking about. Team we play this year. Best year they've had in a long time. Eli Drinkowitz definitely proven to be a pretty good coach after his 1 year at App State. Recruiting well. Really good year. Let's see if we can find the schedule.
They have a nice schedule. I'm looking at it right now. They're going to cakewalk until they get to the A&M game. They're going to be 4-0 going into College Station like October 5th.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. Wow. So that's 4 wins to start the year. Like Gary and I were just talking about, they get that identity finding 4 easy non-cons or 3 non-cons in Vandy. And then they get the off week before A&M. Of course, just our luck. I don't remember if we have a non-con before that. We might. We'll look in a second. I forget the exact schedule. Then their other non-con is they're at UMass? Who signed off on that? That's interesting. Okay. I mean,
That could be tricky.
That could be tricky. UMass is a weird place to play. Good old McGurk Alumni Stadium. You know what they say about the McGurk? It'll McGet you. Who knows? All right. Then they have Auburn, at Bama, OU, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. At 9.5, I mean, I see a path. If they're good, though, they're a big mystery. I don't know exactly if they're going to sustain what they've been doing. What do you think at 9.5?
I think they're going to actually have that Tennessee year with Josh Heupel from a year ago. They're going to start off like 9-0 or something, get to that Bama game undefeated somehow, maybe win that, but then just like lose out and go 8-4 because they have a nice runway. A&M and College Station's tough, but I think they'll win that game. Hate to say it.
They get the bye before and they get the 4 cupcakes before. I didn't see that before. Yeah. That sucks for us, doesn't it, guys? I mean, that's a pretty nice start. It's a pretty nice runway for that game.
Yeah, that's going to be the one they have circled up until Bama pretty much. So if they get through that, they'll probably walk into Bama at 7-0. Or is that 8-0? 7-0.
7-0 or 6-1 if they lose to us. Yeah.
And just 2 more to push. So
9.5. No, there's no push. They're 9.5 in these early ones. I think I'm gonna go under just based on. I need to see it sustained from Missouri. I don't know exactly what they have coming back next year. I know they have Luther Burden coming back.
They got quarterbacks back. They got that left tackle transfer, Williams, that number 1 D lineman, Nowirny, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know how many starters they have back.
Yeah, we'll have to do more research on that. Right now, I'm going to say under in the way too early over-unders. All right. We're going under on Missouri. We need to see it first. I feel just my bias kicking in. I think we beat them at home.
Yeah, y'all could definitely win that. Like any game at College Station, even if y'all aren't very good, is not going to be easy. Yeah.
Right. They haven't been here in I don't know how long, so yeah. All right, South Carolina 5.5. Very, very tough situation for South Carolina. Of course, the rivalry, we play them every year, so we're staying on their schedule. And Georgia's always on their schedule, and Clemson's always on their schedule. So, non-con, Old Dominion, Akron, Wofford, and Clemson. So, obviously, Clemson, tough for them. They can do it, but it's at Clemson. I don't think they're going to win at Clemson this year. Who are they supposed to have at quarterback? I think. Who's their quarterback next year? Do you remember? I remember reading about it the other day.
I forget. I get all confused with all these people in the portal going everywhere.
We'll get a beat on it as we go. This is more of a feel early out, and then we'll get more in depth as we get closer to the season. But 5.5, I can see Old Dominion being a win. I can see Akron being a win. I can see Vandy being a win at Vandy. The at Vandy is always a boon to an SEC schedule. That's like a beautiful godsend every time you get it. Wofford's a win. And then can they win 2 between Clemson, Missouri, A&M, OU, Bama, Ole Miss, LSU, and at Kentucky? Maybe they lose their receiver, Juice Wells. They lose him, right? Or
yeah, he's at Ole Miss now.
Yeah, he's at Ole Miss now. They have
Drew, listen to
they
this.
have
Listen
the
to
young
this.
that really good young receiver whose name escapes me. We scouted him before the A&M game. I think it's an under. I think they'd be lucky at 6. What's up?
They had two transfer quarterbacks in. One's Robbie Ashford from Auburn, who sucks, and the other one's Davis Bevel, that guy who Texas played for against OU 49-0. That was that quarterback. So
Oh
two
my
really bad quarterbacks transferred in to a sinking ship
Robbie
with a
Ashford.
Beamer.
If Robbie Ashford is the starting quarterback next year, they're gonna win 4 or 5 games. I mean, he could improve. He's a runner, but I talked to a lot of Auburn fans last year. For some reason, my pregame video versus Auburn like hit the the Auburn algorithm perfectly, and I had like 8,000 Auburn viewers hit the video. Talked to a lot of them. Those guys hate Robbie Ashford. They think he's terrible. And I would always say, well, he's a good runner at least. Like, no, he doesn't even know how to run. He just can run in a straight line, and he just runs into contact. Even they hate Robbie Ashford. That's tough. If Robbie Ashford's the starter, they're going to win 4 or 5 games, man. I'm going to go under 5.5 knowing that. And knowing they
Yeah.
lose the weapons. I forget the one guy's. Like I said, we'll learn. We'll know more as the year goes on. But they have a super good. I think he was like a 4 or 5 star receiver who played for them last year. He was really good. But if Robbie Ashford's the guy and you don't have a lot of other weapons around him, he's not going to mean that much for them. And I need to look at their team more. But I'm thinking 4 or 5 wins. What do you think?
I'm just thinking about that O line with Robbie Ashford. I'm gonna watch a lot of South Carolina football just to like watch how bad it is
Oh,
because
the
I
O
don't think
line, yeah.
it's gonna be a dumpster fire most likely. But Shane Beamer seems like the type of coach to pull a rabbit out of the hat and win like 6 games, make a bowl.
Pull a rabbit out of the
but
hand and win 6. Damn.
but
Okay.
yeah, the future is not bright in the Columbia, South Carolina
The
under.
magician known as Shane Beamer. Okay, let's see what the chat says about South Carolina. There are rival guys. Chime in the chat what you think about South Carolina at 5.5. Uh, under at 5 says Ted. I don't know if he's talking about them or Mississippi State, but under at 5. Robbie Ashford and Davis Bevel are both terrible. Actually, Jeb says he thought Ashford was decent in 22. Yeah, I think under, guys. I'm not seeing it for South Carolina this year. Does that put Shane Beamer on the hot seat if they go under 5.5?
Yeah, for sure. He's already on the hot seat. He's been on the hot seat.
But who goes to South Carolina and just turns it around? Is that a path that's out there?
Jamie Chadwell, Liberty head coach.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. All right. Anti-Ag says garbage program. Moving on.
Agree.
Yeah, agree. Uh, I don't know. I feel like South Carolina can pull one out of the hat. They can put a program together. You got to get the right guy. But even Spurrier couldn't take him to the top. I mean, it's tough because they have a really strong fan base. They have a great fan base, and it's just really hard for them to be good. Tennessee at 8.5 is going to be a really interesting one. Josh Heupel's proven to be a really good coach. Let's see if we can find a Tennessee schedule right now. Sorry, the way I'm doing this is inconvenient, but it's the fastest way to do it right now.
It's the Nico Lamavea era. I'm not sure how to say his name yet, but I'm sure we'll learn. He's
Lama
supposed to be
Valeva
good.
Lava. Yeah, he's supposed to be really good. And that Tennessee game we were at, the fans around me were all already clamoring and asking for him, even mid-season last year. And it can be tough to throw out a true freshman when you have like a 6th-year senior starting. Maybe gives you the best chance to win. But anyway, out of conference, Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, and UTEP. I think that's 4 wins right there. They're all at home. No, actually, NC State is in North Carolina.
It'll be half and half, though.
It'll be half and half. I think they win those games. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, NC State's supposed to be good this year, but like I just don't trust the ACC at all. So
Yeah.
I would take Tennessee.
Yeah. And then they have at OU, at Arkansas. Maybe Arkansas can get the upset at home. Probably not. But I would give Tennessee the win there. So I'm looking. Maybe they lose to OU at OU. That's going to be an interesting game. Tennessee at OU. That'll be fun to watch. Florida at home. I mean, it's a rivalry. Who knows? But I think Tennessee wins that.
Yep.
Bama at home. It's a loss, I think. But who knows? Who knows what Bama is? Kentucky, Mississippi State, at Georgia, and then they get the at Vandy to close the year. Dang, they end the season nice. UTEP then at Vandy.
Yeah, the schedule's not too bad. What's the number? I'm sorry.
8.5.
8.5. I kind of like the over here because I feel like Tennessee got a lot out of that team with Joe Milton at quarterback, basically Tyrone Swoops. That guy was not good. And despite that, they were pretty decent last year. I mean, they won games they were supposed to win, which I think Heupel's done a good job of. And I think there's a lot of games on this schedule that they'll be favored in. I think Nico could be like an eventual Heisman caliber quarterback based on like what I saw out of him in high school and the hype
Yeah,
he's
he's really
getting.
good.
So in that system, I think he'll put up some numbers. So I like the over here.
They had a pretty good front seven. I remember the very frustrating game to watch, A&M at Tennessee, but A&M couldn't get anything going. Max was on his back the whole game, and of course, bad O-line play. Very frustrating game. Didn't feel like we were playing against a team that was better than us, but they were still successful on the season. So, yeah, 8.5. I could see 9 wins. I'll go over Tennessee. All right. You don't have to give a prediction right now if you don't want, but Texas at 10. I don't think. Yeah, I'll talk about A&M in a second. Texas at 10. Let's look at your little schedule. Let's see what.
What do you mean little schedule?
Let's see what cupcake.
It's an SEC schedule. Y'all been talking about the big bad SEC for so long.
Yeah, but y'all got a cupcake to start. You got an easy SEC schedule. Okay, you have at Michigan. That's no fun. It is fun, but that's tough. Even though they're going to be in a full rebuild, ground up, maybe scandalous,
Yeah.
maybe penalty ridden. Who knows what they are next year? Y'all. I mean, I think I would pick y'all right now. Unfortunately, just based on where Michigan's at. I mean, y'all got really lucky with the Michigan situation because y'all probably start 3-0 now. I don't know. How do you feel about that Michigan game? Oh, yeah, 5-0.
Yeah, I'm very happy that Harbaugh's leaving because I agree we did get a little lucky there. But either way, this was their year. Like it was circled 3 years ago. They were all going to have this upperclassmen team of veterans in 2024, and they did, and they won it all. So either way, they were going to have a drop off this year, I think. But yeah, with Harbaugh gone, there's so much instability, I would say, and just new faces. And that I like Texas in that game, and that's a game that we'll actually show up for. You know, we're known to not show up for some games, but we'll show up for when you play at the big house for sure. So I think I like our chances there, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, like I said about DKR, I think y'all are showing up. I don't think that'll be an issue for Texas next year. Now, whether that's enough to make y'all a contender, I don't know. But I think y'all are showing up for every game first year in the SEC. So, yeah, unfortunate. I mean, I could see you losing to Michigan, but I think you beat Michigan right now. And I see you starting 5-0, unfortunately. And then history says y'all lose to OU. I mean, that's just the feeling. That's just how it seems. It seems like y'all lose to OU. So I think y'all lose to OU this year. If I'm going over on OU, y'all are losing to OU.
Yeah, I could see us losing to OU, but I think the way we lost this past year, I think the revenge dynamic will help us in that situation. But yeah, we could lose that game. I think we'll split OU and Georgia. We'll lose one of those games for sure, but we'll win one too.
Yeah, and like I said about like y'all did get an easy SEC schedule. They gave you the at Vandy, and I mean I'm joking, but I'm not. When you get an at Vandy as one of your 7 SEC games or 8 SEC games, that's a huge benefit. That takes away a road game and an SEC matchup. You get at Vandy on your schedule. That is such a benefit. And then you play Florida on the road at Arkansas. They're going to get up for y'all. That stadium might be empty for the 3 games leading up to that game, but it'll be sold out versus y'all. So that will probably be a tough game just because the insanity factor of Arkansas just wants to beat y'all so bad. But I think y'all probably beat Arkansas. And then y'all lose to A&M. So I see y'all winning maybe 9 or 10 games. I mean, I have to give it to you. I have to give it to the SEC schedule makers. I have to give it to Jim Harbaugh for just giving y'all a pat on the butt and saying good luck. I mean,
wait, hold on. Back up.
Mm-hmm.
You said 9 or 10 wins. We lose to A&M, but so we lose to A&M, we lose to OU, but we beat Georgia. Is that what you're saying?
Y'all are either going to lose both or beat OU.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we got lucky. Del Conte is working his magic. Texas is already like the new darling of the SEC apparently, so that's good. Let me chime in here. So I think we'll definitely start off 5-0. We'll end up at 6-1 after week 7 after the Georgia game. Vanderbilt, that's a win. Florida, that's a win. At Arkansas, I was there 3 years ago in Vietnam. That was horrible. So
Yeah.
that's not an easy win.
They hate y'all too much.
I have a feeling we'll split Arkansas and A&M. We'll lose one of those games just because of the rivalries on the road. Those are not give me's. And then Kentucky at home, that should be a win. So 10-2 is what I'm thinking for sure. But this is early. We'll see. We'll have a better feeling as we get
How
closer to the
how
season.
are y'all reloading on the interior of your D line? Because the inside of your D line can really, really set your defense up for success. I mean, you're losing your stars there. What do y'all reload with right there?
Well, we have Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton back, who played a lot of snaps last year, right behind Sweat and Murphy. And the last couple of years, like Sweat and Murphy were just those journeymen behind Coburn and Ojimo. So it's kind of been like a lineage that we've built. Like there's two guys that emerged as seniors the last like 3 years, and they've been really good. And Collins was graded so high last year. Like he was almost as good grading wise is Murphy and Sweat. He just didn't get the run like that. So he's going to be good. And Broughton, but behind them, we don't have much depth. We just have young guys that are unproven. So it's going to be a drop off, no doubt, because Sweat and Murphy were just insane.
So
But
you'll have
yeah, I feel
two
like that's the
returning,
biggest hole.
two returning known rotation commodities at your D tackle spot, or three.
We have two known commodities returning
See, I
seniors.
mean, now when you get to the SEC, you got to have four or five. I'm just letting you know. Just if you didn't know,
Yeah.
you got to have a rotation there, and you probably do. I know y'all recruit great. It's just that's a lot to replace, but I will give it to Sark and your team. The offense should be pretty good next year based on who y'all are reloading with. I mean, Ewers is back. Y'all plug and play with those transfers. We have to see it pan out. See it play out like I keep saying, but you give yourself as good a shot as you could have had based on what you lost and based on what you gained. Is that edge out of UTSA going to start for y'all?
I don't know because we're pretty stacked on the
I
edges,
know y'all are pretty good on edge, yeah. And the
but
secondary
I
should be
think
improved too, right? It was pretty young last year, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, the whole secondary's back pretty much, besides Ryan Watts. But we bring in Makuba,
Yeah.
which helps. We get rid of some of our bad safeties to the portal and bring in a better one. So secondary should be great. Ant Hill back at linebacker, Benda back at linebacker. But yeah, you just want to see more depth in the D line. But I want to bring up this point. On paper, I think Texas will be good next year, very good. It's going to be a different team though, for sure. It's going to have a whole different makeup as this past year. But
Yeah.
if Texas goes into that A&M game at 10-1, are we going to have a situation where that game doesn't matter? I mean, obviously it matters, but is there going to be a situation where people are saying on College Game Day that even if Texas loses this game, they're still in the 12-team playoff? I hope that's not the case because that would be stupid.
I was just
But
thinking about this actually. Like a 10-2 SEC team, like right now we're saying that's a lock. You're in. But I think if you're playing at that margin, they always say that when you lose matters. So if we're saying 10-2 can get an SEC team in, if you're losing the last game of the year and you're not going to the SEC championship, I wonder how that'll be viewed, and I wonder what the landscape will look like at that point. Because remember, half of that field is going to be conference champs, which is stupid, but it's going to happen. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. The margins we're gonna be doing. It's like we're just playing at a different margin here at the 12 spot. I don't know. I feel like it would matter. I feel like you would really want to win that game. You wouldn't want to put it up to chance. I'd have to see how the field looks. Who knows what the competitors look like at that point? But if your last showcase for the committee is for the committee is a loss at A&M, and obviously everyone's gonna be watching that game, that could hurt. I just think if that's like your first loss, it wouldn't matter. But if that's your second loss, I think it matters. So, yeah, I think in that scenario it does matter. And I'll say this about Texas: look, I hate you. I hate you a lot. I really,
I think you like us.
I despise you. But I got to give you credit. You have a pretty good team. I could see you winning 9 games.
What do you mean 9? We won 12 this year. I think we're going to get double digits for sure. Um, but thank you for the compliments. They're very kind. Last thing I'll say on Texas before we get to A&M is Texas. We have this great lineage of running backs. All these Doak Walker winners. It's just like one of the best. It's running back university. But this year we have a guy by the name of Jaden Blue who's going to be the best one that we've ever seen at Texas. Mark my words. This guy's going to be a dynamite, electric. Just it's going to be fun to watch.
Okay, that's pretty. It's a pretty tall task to be the best ever. We'll see. Didn't he fumble in the championship game or the playoff game?
Yeah, he did.
Didn't
But
both running backs fumble in that clutch game?
yeah, I think about it every night.
Uh-oh. Yeah, there we go. Unplug the mic. Okay, yeah, we'll see. I think y'all win 10 games, to be honest. I think you lose to A&M. No, it's 9 or 10. OU, Georgia, and A&M, and then the rest of your schedule is very manageable. I think y'all can win all those games. But A&M, OU, Georgia. All right. Moving on. Are we even going to do Vandy? Let's get Vandy over with before we do A&M. Y'all get to play Vandy. That's just not right. Welcome to the SEC. Play Vandy in Florida. Okay. Let's just do this quickly. Virginia Tech, Alcorn State, Georgia State, and Ball State. I don't know, man. They could lose 2 of those games, right? They could lose. I mean, they're at Georgia State. They could lose 3 of them. Who knows? Who knows? It's at 3.5. I'll go under. What do you say?
I don't know, man.
Hold on. You cut out. Start over. Start over. Wait, hold on. But while you get back to your mic's kind of messed up. I don't know what you did. But let me check on the chat real quick before we get into Vandy. Lash says TU is way ahead of OU in the red rivalry, but lately OU is better. Yep. All right. Garbage program. Let's see where we were at. Beamer's out after 2025, says Anti-Ag, maybe. Ted Prickett says Tennessee better watch out for that UTEP game. The head coach from Austin Peay was leading team at half. Now the head coach at UTEP. Who knows? I don't know what to see. We'll see. I think they beat UTEP, but we'll see, Ted. Take the over, but barely. Okay, so they would have to beat UTEP to get that. Texas had a good home schedule this year. We need whoever makes their schedules. Their schedules are nice, man. They got some nice schedule makers. Gary says 3 losses for Texas, Georgia, OU, and A&M. I think that's I could see them winning 1 of those games maybe, but I think they could lose all 3. Very, very possible. The key to Texas seasons: OU, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Texas. Yeah, those are going to be the tougher ones for sure. Texas won't be playing the same A&M they're used to. We have 4- and 5-star players too now. Yeah, we have equal talent. I mean, I think we lost a lot right now, but we'll still have much better talent. There will be less deficiency than they're used to seeing. Jeb's getting out of here. Good to see you, Jeb. We'll see you next time. All right, guys, let's check out Vandy. Matt, what do you say for Vandy real quick? 3.5. You're muted, Matt. Matt, unmute yourself. You there? You're muted.
What do you say for Vandy real quick? 3.5.
Matt, you there? All right, he's going to have to call back in. Matt, call back in. Sorry, guys, we're having a little technical difficulties in the StreamYard studio. We have A&M schedule on deck, so don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about this A&M schedule real quick, as we're going to keep talking about through this entire offseason. Let's get Matt back in here. We dogged on Longhorns long enough. We need to let him talk about A&M. All right, Matt, you with me? You with me, Matt?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good now. All right, Vandy, 3.5. What did you have there real quick?
I'm going to go over.
Okay. All right, Vandy.
Yeah.
Vandy winning 4 games. Okay, I wonder when Vandy's just going to surprise us. Are they due for that? They're probably due for a good year, but I'm still going to go under. All right. Here's the A&M game. A&M schedule. You know we start with Notre Dame. Then the rest of our non-con is McNeese, Bowling Green, New Mexico State. Our first SEC game is at Florida pretty early in the year. Then we play Arkansas at Jerry World for the last time. I'll be there. Jeb will be there. Missouri at home, we talked about that. At Mississippi State, LSU at home. At South Carolina, the rivalry, the bye week, New Mexico State. At Auburn before Texas is going to be really tough. Matt, they have A&M at 7. What do you have?
How about you go first? I'm still pondering this schedule right now.
All right, so I think most people in the chat – actually, I don't think I've talked about how I feel. I haven't made a prediction yet, and this is, I guess, my way too early prediction for A&M. That Notre Dame game, it's going to be pretty tough, mostly because of A&M coming in with a new system, not getting any kind of ramp up before that, just going straight into a competitive game. I've been saying I think that game obviously sets the tone for the early part of the year, and by that Florida game is looming. Florida's terrible, but you're going to Florida early with a new staff, a lot of new players. It's an early test. So I think you could easily slip up at some point, whether it's at Florida versus Arkansas, at Mississippi State. You could slip up. But I do like what A&M has put together so far. I was surprised to have so many people so high on Notre Dame going into next year. I know they get the new OC. They lose a lot of offensive weapons. They lose some guys on defense, but they're supposed to have a pretty good defense next year. A&M's not going to have any expectations going into this game. A&M's probably going to be unranked or ranked 25 or something like that. Notre Dame's apparently going to be a top 10 team. I'm going to cautiously and maybe reluctantly go over right now for A&M. Of course, I'm biased. I'm always a little bit higher than I should be on A&M. I see A&M as a bold, I guess, prediction, sweeping the non-con, and I think they can win 3 or 4 SEC games. I think they beat Notre Dame, and I think that's the swing game on the year. First game of the year, not even a conference game. It's just such a big game to set the tone when you have so many other games that are pretty tough. The Missouri game is weird. I don't know what to expect from them. We'll have to wait and see. LSU at home, I think A&M wins. At Auburn's really tough. I think we beat Texas, but that game's impossible to predict every year. I'm going to go over 7 right now. I think I've been saying 8 wins is where I'm at, 8-9 wins. And I'm sticking to it, so I'm going over. We bring the entire offense back. We do lose our best player on defense. We bring a whole new corner group. But I really like the D-line right now. I really like the defensive ends we've gotten in the portal. I feel like you need a little bit more depth at tackle, at defensive tackle. But I really like starting DJ Hicks. I really like starting Shamar Turner. Whether it's DJ Hicks, Albert Regis, or Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, we have a 4-man rotation at defensive tackle. We just need probably at least one more guy. We got the guy out of Wisconsin who can play, maybe be your third stringer there. I think you need one more experienced defensive tackle. I like the rotation defensive end. You got to find that second linebacker. Obviously, that corner battle for the starting position, that's pretty much defining your year, that and the O-line. Still, that's the same thing we said last year going into this year. But I will say I feel much more confident about those 2 position groups going into this year just because we lose no one on the offensive line. It's the same offensive line with what we think will be a better coach because no one likes Steve Adazio. It's just how it is. It's just underperforming players. You're going to blame the coach. It's how it works. I don't know. I'm going over 7, and I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, this is really tough. Because I could see this going both ways. I think on paper, A&M has a good team next year. Like he said, the D-line should be really good. Weigman, whenever he played, looked really good. But I don't know because the schedule is so weirdly set up where you open with Notre Dame and Mike Elko. I don't know who he is as a head coach yet.
It's fair.
And I think he's going to be a good coach, like definitely better than Jimbo, at least on a game day type coaching situation. But I'll go over 2. But the schedule is tricky because, you go to Starkville, which is not easy all the time. You go to South Carolina, which is not easy. And y'all played at Jordan-Hare the week before we play y'all, where we get like Kentucky at home in Austin, which I think favors us for sure. And y'all play us. You get LSU and Missouri all at home. And then Arkansas, y'all own Arkansas, but I think y'all split Florida and Notre Dame. I just have a feeling y'all are going to lose one of those games. But y'all definitely should. Y'all be favored in both, I think, actually.
We are favored in Notre Dame early. We're favored by 1.5 or 2, depending on where you look.
If y'all are able to get out of that 3-0, y'all will definitely go way over. Y'all will be like probably 5-0 going into Missouri, and then you'll have that big home college station Kyle Field night game, primetime top 15 matchup. They'll be undefeated too.
Yeah,
so if y'all could get there, y'all be sitting real pretty.
Yeah.
But you'll have to play Texas, LSU, Missouri. So I'm gonna go over. I think y'all get 8 wins.
Yeah, I look at the schedule, and definitely the first half of the schedule is where like you're definitely going to know by then. I know Texas game, it is what it is. Who knows who wins that game? But if you can get through Missouri game with maybe 1 loss, I think you're feeling pretty good. I think you can beat LSU at home. I think you can win in Starkville, even though it's going to be tricky. But yeah, I'm with you. That Notre Dame and the Florida game, those are 2 huge games on the year. We're going to know so much through those 3 games. I just wish McNeese and Notre Dame was flipped. As a fan, I'm enjoying Notre Dame first. We get to look forward to it all year. But you really want to ramp up. You really want to get to know the team first. You really want the coaches to have the opportunity to watch their team in live action. They're not going to be able to do that before they're playing Notre Dame. So I'm really with you in that sentiment about those two games being tough and weird early in the year. But LSU I feel good about. And then I just like the home-away split on the year is what I've been saying. I think all the away games are winnable, even though they're tough and tricky and you could lose them. But I'd rather play Mississippi State on the road than LSU or Missouri. I'd rather play South Carolina on the road than LSU or Missouri. I'd rather play Auburn on the road than Texas. So, yeah, I'm over right now, and I'm feeling good about it. And it sounds like you're the same way. Well, any closing thoughts looking at this schedule?
There's no built-in losses. There's no at Bama.
Right.
There's no at Georgia. No at LSU. So that's what makes it hard to predict. There's a lot of games where I'm going, A&M probably should win that, but you don't know. So that's why it's tricky to bet. But at 7, I like the over. I think as long as Elko just like keeps the culture healthy in year one, which he will, and y'all don't get injured. Y'all get so injured every year. Y'all have horrible strength and conditioning under Jimbo.
Yeah.
Then y'all should definitely go over 7. But if Weigman gets hurt, it could spiral a little bit. But I think the over is the safe bet for sure.
Yeah, I feel good about that, and I would not be surprised to see that thing bounce up to 7.5. Because right now I feel 8 wins. I feel 8 wins, and I have a Longhorn in here feeling 8 wins. So, all right, well that makes me feel pretty good. And chat, guys, let's see what y'all have to say. I mean, I think y'all were just probably digesting the thought process right now. We have a Hookem in here. He shall saw the horns off the wicked, says Lash. Of course, every time. Yes, absolutely. Max says Vandy is some baby back cowards for dropping out of the SMU game. Hold a grudge there, and I respect and understand it. Anthony Meyer says it's a rebuild year 7. It's a rebuild year. 7 will be tough. I don't know if 7's tough. I think 7's good. I think 7's safe. This team still has talent, man. And everyone we got in the portal, they're all upperclassmen and experienced. I know they're not all high-profile names. Some are. Des Ricks and Nick Scorton are badass names. Will Lee. I think 8 or 9. But all right, Matt, before I let you go, any closing thoughts on the way too early over-unders? Any thoughts on the SEC going forward? Your thoughts moving into the conference?
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. It's nice to not have Kansas State and Iowa State and Baylor on the schedule for once and get some actual big brands. It's awesome that we're playing again on Thanksgiving. It's our first time as you being an Aggie. I don't know if the fans know, but Drew grew up a Longhorn, kind of. Not really, but a little bit. And now he's
my family's all Longhorn. I'm the only Aggie in the family.
Yeah, so now it's our first A&M Texas game where he's an Aggie. So it's going to be fun on Thanksgiving. Texas will win that game, though, most likely, per usual. But this season's going to be so much fun because it's just so new. It's like a whole different sport. But I think it'll be for the better. 12 teams is obviously too much for the playoff, but I love the new conferences. It'll be just great matchups every week. So it just sucks that we're so far away from it. That's the bad thing.
I know, that's the thing. 'Cause in these videos, my favorite thing to do is things like we did today. Looking forward to the season, talking about lineups, talking about Heisman contenders, Connor Weigman for Heisman, looking at the over-unders in January, and we have 7 months to go. So it's going to be long. Are we going to sit next to each other in that game? That'd be weird. It's going to be hostile.
I can't watch that with you. I want to watch that by myself in like a dark room in Chicago.
Imagine A&M scores and I just look at you. Ugh.
Yeah, I couldn't deal with that.
All right, guys, we're going to call it a show. Thanks, Matt, for coming in. If you guys could like and subscribe to this channel, that'd be great. I know y'all aren't Longhorns. If you could just give Matt a like or a subscribe on Texas Platinum, help him out. Just go hate on them. Engagement's good. Just go comment a bunch of trash on Texas Platinum's videos when they start posting again. Matt's busy. He's in Chicago right now, but they'll start posting again. And we need some Aggies to get in there and mix it up and just really mess with these guys. But all right, guys, I guess we're going to call it